Excuses are silent killers of greatness, and if you're not careful, they will slowly steal every ounce of potential you have inside you without you even realizing it. You say you want success. You say you want to win. You say you want to change your life, but every time things get uncomfortable, every time the pressure rises, every time you're required to step up, you reach for an excuse like it's a safety net. I'm too tired. I don't have enough time. I don't have the right support. But let me tell you something, those excuses might make you feel better in the moment, but they are costing you everything in the long run. Because while you're explaining why you can't, somebody else is out there making it happen with less sleep, fewer resources, and bigger problems. And the difference between you and them is not talent, it's not luck, it's mindset. They decided that excuses are no longer an option. They understood that growth only happens when you push past discomfort, not when you hide behind it. See, excuses give you permission to stay average. They keep you in your comfort zone where everything feels safe but nothing grows. And if you stay there long enough, you'll wake up one day realizing that you didn't fail because you weren't capable. You failed because you never gave yourself a real chance. Because every excuse you made was another opportunity you ignored, another step you refused to take, another moment where you chose ease over effort. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to hand you success. If you keep waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect conditions, you will be waiting for the rest of your life. Because perfect doesn't exist. What exists is now. What exists is the opportunity in front of you, even if it's messy, even if it's hard, even if it's inconvenient. That's where real winners are made, in the chaos, in the struggle, in the moments when excuses would be easy, but discipline is chosen instead. You've got to make a decision that no matter what happens, no matter how you feel, no matter how tough it gets, you are going to show up and do the work. Because at the end of the day, your results will not reflect your intentions, they will reflect your actions. And if your actions are constantly delayed by excuses, then your dreams will always stay out of reach. So you have to ask yourself a real question. How bad do you want it? Because when you truly want something, excuses lose their power. When your purpose is strong enough, your reasons become stronger than your doubts. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop looking for shortcuts, and you start doing whatever it takes. That's the shift. That's the moment everything changes, when you stop saying I can't and start saying I will find a way. Because the truth is, excuses are a choice. And if you can choose excuses, you can also choose discipline, consistency, and action. The path is right there in front of you. You just have to stop talking about it and start walking it. Accountability is the turning point between a life full of excuses and a life filled with results. And most people avoid it because it's uncomfortable, because it forces you to confront the truth about where you are and why you're there. It's easy to blame your situation, your background, your environment, or even other people for where you stand today. It's easy to say, I didn't get the right opportunities, or nobody helped me, or things didn't go my way. But the moment you choose blame, you give away your power. You hand over control of your life to circumstances instead of taking ownership of your future. And that's the problem, because if everything is someone else's fault, then nothing is in your control to fix. But the second you shift your mindset and say, this is on me, everything changes. That's where growth begins. That's where strength is built, because accountability doesn't mean everything that happened to you is fair. It means you refuse to let it define your outcome. It means no matter what you've been through, no matter what's been taken from you or denied to you, you are still responsible for what you do next. And that's powerful because it means your future is still in your hands. See, winners don't waste time complaining about what went wrong. They analyze it, they learn from it, and they adjust. They don't sit around waiting for better conditions, they create them. They don't say, why is this happening to me? They say, what can I do about it? That shift in thinking is everything. Because once you take ownership, excuses don't have a place to hide. You can't say, I'm too tired, when you've decided your goals matter more than your comfort. You can't say, I don't have time, when you realize time is something you manage, not something you find. You can't say, I can't do it, when you've committed to figuring it out no matter what. Accountability forces you to raise your standards. It forces you to look in the mirror and be honest about your effort, your discipline, and your consistency. And that honesty can be painful because it removes all the stories you've been telling yourself to justify staying where you are. But that pain is necessary because it's the same pain that pushes you to improve. When you take full responsibility, you stop waiting for motivation and start relying on discipline. You stop looking for easy paths and start building resilience. You stop expecting results without effort and start earning everything you get. And here's the truth. Accountability is not a one-time decision. It's a daily commitment. Every single day, you have to choose to own your actions, your habits, and your mindset. Every single day, you have to decide that no matter what happens, you will not fall back into excuses. Because excuses are easy, but they keep you stuck. Accountability is hard, but it moves you forward. And if you stay consistent with it, if you keep showing up, keep learning, keep pushing yourself, you will start to see results. Maybe not immediately, maybe not overnight, but over time, those small decisions to take responsibility will compound into something powerful. You'll build confidence, discipline, and a mindset that refuses to quit. And that's what separates people who talk about success from those who actually achieve it. They don't wait, they don't blame, and they don't make excuses. They take ownership and make it happen. Pain is part of the process, whether you like it or not, and the sooner you accept that, the sooner you stop running from the very thing that can transform your life. Everybody wants success, everybody wants to win, everybody wants the results, but not everybody is willing to go through the pain required to get there. And that's where excuses are born. The moment things get hard, the moment you feel discomfort, the moment your body gets tired or your mind starts doubting, you look for a way out. You tell yourself, I'll do it tomorrow. I need a break. This is too much. But what you're really doing is choosing short-term comfort over long-term greatness. You're choosing to escape the pain now without realizing you're signing up for a much deeper pain later, the pain of regret. Because let me tell you something real. Regret doesn't go away. It stays with you. It grows. It reminds you of the chances you didn't take, the effort you didn't give, the version of yourself you could have become but never did because you kept choosing the easy path. And that kind of pain hits different. That's the pain that keeps you up at night wondering what if. That's the pain of knowing you had more in you but never brought it out. Compare that to the pain of discipline, the early mornings, the late nights, the sacrifices, the moments when you push yourself even when you don't feel like it. That pain is temporary. It hurts in the moment, but it builds you. It strengthens your mind, sharpens your focus, and prepares you for bigger challenges. It teaches you resilience. It shows you what you're capable of when you refuse to quit. And here's the truth, you don't get to avoid pain. You only get to choose which type you're going to live with. You can either feel the pain of discipline today or the pain of regret tomorrow. One leads to growth, the other leads to disappointment. One pushes you forward, the other holds you back. So when you're in that moment, when everything in you is telling you to stop, when the excuses start creeping in, when quitting feels like the easiest option, you have to remind yourself why you started. You have to remind yourself that this struggle is part of the journey, not a sign to quit. You have to push through not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because every time you overcome that moment, every time you choose discipline over excuses, you're building a stronger version of yourself. You're creating habits that lead to success. You're proving to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. And over time, those small victories add up. They create momentum. They turn into confidence. They turn into results. But none of that happens if you keep running from discomfort. None of that happens if you keep choosing the easy way out. Growth doesn't live in comfort. Success doesn't come from convenience. It comes from struggle, from sacrifice, from showing up when it's hard and doing the work anyway. So stop looking for ways to avoid the pain and start embracing it. Understand that it's not your enemy, it's your teacher. It's shaping you into someone stronger, more disciplined, more focused. And if you can learn to push through it, if you can learn to silence those excuses and keep going no matter what, there is nothing that can stop you from reaching your full potential. At the end of the day, the world doesn't reward explanations. It rewards execution. You can talk about your plans, your goals, your intentions all day long, but if there's no action behind them, they mean absolutely nothing. Too many people fall in love with the idea of success, but they hesitate when it's time to do the work. They become masters at explaining why something didn't happen instead of becoming disciplined enough to make it happen. I was busy, things didn't go as planned, I'll start next week. But listen carefully, every excuse you make might sound valid to you, but it doesn't produce results. And results are the only thing that separates those who dream from those who actually achieve. Winners understand this at a deep level. They don't waste time justifying failure. They focus on adjusting their approach and executing again. They know that progress doesn't come from perfection. It comes from consistency. Even when they mess up, even when things don't go their way, they don't sit around explaining. They get back to work. That's the difference. Execution requires discipline, and discipline requires you to act regardless of how you feel. There will be days when you're not motivated, days when everything feels heavy, days when quitting seems easier than continuing. But winners don't rely on motivation, they rely on habits. They've trained themselves to show up no matter what. And that's what builds momentum, because every time you take action, no matter how small, you move closer to your goal. Every time you follow through on what you said you would do, you build trust with yourself, and that self-trust is powerful. It turns doubt into confidence and hesitation into certainty. But when you constantly make excuses, you break that trust. You start to believe your own limitations. You start to see yourself as someone who talks more than they act, and that mindset will keep you stuck. So if you want to change your life, you have to flip the script. Stop focusing on what you said you were going to do, and start focusing on what you actually did. Measure your days by your actions, not your intentions. Hold yourself to a higher standard where excuses are no longer acceptable. Because the truth is, nobody is going to care about your reasons. They're going to look at your results. And more importantly, you're going to have to live with those results. So why not choose action? Why not choose to execute even when it's inconvenient, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's hard? Because that's where growth happens. That's where you separate yourself from the average. It's not about being the most talented or the most gifted. It's about being the most consistent. It's about showing up again and again, doing the work, and refusing to let excuses win. When you adopt that mindset, everything changes. You stop waiting for the perfect moment and start creating momentum. You stop overthinking and start doing. And once you build that habit of execution, success is no longer something you hope for. It becomes something you build, one action at a time.